Regardless of whether you're using ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, or Grok, or any of these new language learning models that are coming out every single week, your ability to get the right outputs and to get AI to work for you rather than you working for it comes down to one thing: prompt engineering. It is one of the most valuable skills that you can learn this year as AI is on track to becoming a $1 trillion industry by 2030. So regardless of whether you're trying to make more money with it, building business around it, or you just want to free up some time in your life using it, then you need to understand how to give it the proper instructions so that you can get exactly what you need out of it. Now, one of the problems that most people don't realize is that AI is both the smartest and the dumbest tool in the world because it has so much context, so much information that if you don't give it the proper instructions, it's going to feed you dumb examples and dumb outputs. This is why when AI first came out, I absolutely hated it. As a copywriter, as a marketer, I just thought that I could do everything better and faster. Every time I would try to use AI, I'd end up spending longer going back and forth with it, trying to perfect the responses, rather than I could have just done the task myself and then gone away with my day. Over time though, I started noticing more and more people implement AI into their workflows. And I started noticing clients were replacing team members with AI. And I didn't want to be the guy that left because of AI. So I started diving deep into it, but that didn't solve the number one problem I had. I did not know how to get AI to work for me. I did not know how to consistently get the right outputs. This is exactly what we're going to be touching on in this video. Most times it's just poor instructions, which means poor outputs. Now the solution to this is you have to understand what to say and when to say it to the AI so that you can get exactly what you need. And I'm going to break this down into 3 different levels. There's the beginner level where you use ChatGPT here and there, but you're not doing anything complex with it. You're really just using it for the fun of it or for the convenience aspect of it. There's the intermediate level where you're dabbling with AI or these language learning models, but you're not making money with it yet, or you want to, but you just want to make your life and job easier, so you're doing it for yourself. There's also the advanced side of it where you're starting to build out AI solutions, agents, maybe you're specifically getting paid to do this kind of stuff, so you want to make sure that your AI actually performs consistently. How do you do that? I'm going to dive deep into each and every single level. So for the example prompt that we're going to be using, it's going to be just write me a cold email sequence. This is pretty much the basic thing that most people type in, expecting the world, but it sucks. So how do you make this better? If you're a beginner, the framework you're going to want to follow is called RT, or role and task. What is it a world class in? So what is it really good at? And then highlight what it's actually good at doing. So 2 different pieces. This is called role prompting. Very unique name. I know I didn't make it up, but that's what they named it. One tip is include a public figure that it can base itself off of. And I'll provide an example of this later. But if you just specify what you want it to do, like who is it embodying, what is it really good at, like enrich it with the words that you're using. What is it really good at doing? That alone is going to increase the accuracy and increase the quality of the output that you're getting. But the second level to it is you want to give it specific instructions. So description of what you want it to do is part of the formula for the task. Write me a cold email sequence. That is a description of what you want it to do. But we can go a layer deeper. We need to get more specific. So what is the objective of the goal so that the AI can now understand what the end goal is and act accordingly? This is what you get as an example when you implement these things. So the role is you're a world-class cold email marketer and you have the mind of Daniel Fazio. Very popular, very good cold email marketer. You can search him up. This is the role. Public figure right here, and then what its role is. I'm trying not to repeat myself, but this is what it is. This is what its number one task is. They're a cold email marketer. You're now whittling it down. Instead of giving it some broad generic input, you're now giving it more context, more guardrails to work within. And you're incredible when it comes to writing highly converting cold emails that get opened and read by complete strangers. Again, we're now enriching it and highlighting what it's really good at so that I can focus on those things. In terms of the task, write me a 3-day cold email sequence. Just a description of what you want it to do. The goal is to get people to be enticed to open the email, and the body of it should create curiosity so they want to reply. The description of what you want it to do, make it specific, 3-day email sequence rather than just a cold email sequence. And then what is the objective? To get people to open the email and to be enticed by the body and create curiosity so they want to reply. If you input that compared to the first one, now your output's going to be a lot more accurate, it's going to be a lot higher quality, and you're just going to be able to perform your work better. What if you're not a beginner? What if you're an intermediate with it? Well, we're adding an extra element, which is RTC. So there's role, task, and then there's context. There are 2 additions though. Number 1 is the chain of thought prompting. What this is you're breaking down the task step by step, and what you're looking for. So this allows the AI to think in multiple steps and just check off things as it goes, rather than, again, just guessing. The whole point, and you're going to notice this as we go through the prompt engineering stuff, the whole point of all of this is to just create guardrails, to create constraints so that the AI knows exactly what to focus on. It's like using a magnifying glass and burning a hole in the leaf rather than expecting the sun to burn the hole in the leaf. Like, that's not going to happen. With the task, now we're giving it a description of what you want it to do, what the objective and the goal is, and then we're creating chain of thought prompting where we're giving a step by step on what exactly to do. The second thing that we're adding is context. This is where you give background information that gives it guardrails to operate within. Again, I've repeated this multiple times, but this is the whole point. You want to give it background information on certain things like who you're targeting, your offer, your business, the importance of the task, etc. It's just going to depend on what the task is, but give as much background information as you can so that, again, it can use that information to enrich the output that it's giving you. That basically motivates the AI to do a better job for you. To give you a quick example of this, we have the exact same role and then task. The only thing we're adding here is now use this step-by-step process to guide you. Subject line should hook and grab attention by creating curiosity and opening a loop. First line should be warm and personalized and make them want to read the second line. Briefly explain the outcomes we're able to provide so they become intrigued and enticed to respond. Have a short, soft call to action for them to reply, and then close with my name. Damn. So now, instead of just giving it this and then relying on it to pump out the data, you're now giving it, again, more guardrails to operate within. Like, you're giving it exactly what you're looking for so it can refine the output that it's giving you. In terms of context, we're an AI marketing agency, helping local businesses, blah, blah. This is just background on your business, the offer, etc. Whatever context you can provide for it to just do a better job, that's what you want to focus on here. This task is highly important to me as it determines the success of my business, so I greatly appreciate your input and support on this. This is what emotion prompt is. This is adding, again, emotional elements to it so it motivates the AI to do a better job for you. By noting that it's highly important to you and that you greatly appreciate its input and its help, it's just like operating with a real human being. A lot of people will just type things into AI. It's like, oh, it's a machine, whatever, it doesn't matter. But as we go through certain things, you're going to notice that it's more and more like training a human being. When you add elements like this, if you're to tell a person like, hey, this is really important, and I truly appreciate your effort, people are going to be a lot more intrinsically motivated to do a better job rather than just like, hey, just do this. Well, people are going to be like, well, screw you. Like, I don't care the quality of this. But if you're giving them an identity, an expectation to live up to, they're going to want to live up to that expectation. It's just basic human psychology. You want to implement that when you're training AIs and prompting AIs. This greatly improves the outputs that you're getting. For the master section, this is where we add everything to it. So this is how you get basically the best outputs that you possibly can. The framework, RTSCEN, everything stays the same. Role, task, stays the same. Now we're adding specifics. What is it? An example of what you can use here, a quick tactic and a technique, is called emotion prompt. Basically, this is using emotional inputs. This is where you're listing out specific and important instructions of what you want it to follow. So the difference between this and the task is you're not giving a high-level overview of what to do. You're giving instructions on how to do it. It's more focused on the how, the execution, rather than overarching theme of like what it's supposed to be doing. The reason you use a list format though here is so that you can add and remove elements easily without just messing up the entire prompt. So it's just like building blocks or Lego. You can just put it in. If it doesn't work, take it off. It doesn't break down the entire structure. Context stays the exact same, and now we're adding examples. So when you give it specific examples for a reference, this is just like a human being. If you were to tell it to write a cold email sequence, it'll write something for you, but if you give it specific examples, now again, you're creating more guardrails. You're creating more context for it to follow so that it can actually emulate what you want it to look like. Same thing what we did with role, where we give the actual like public figure so it can emulate. Now you're giving an example. So you're giving kind of a higher level overarching like identity for this AI. Now you're giving it very specific tangible examples that it can pull context from. So you can just provide the examples straight up or make a clear input XYZ and output ABC. Again, for this sort of cold email example, pasting the example is just going to be enough. What you can do here is it's called few shot prompting versus no shot prompting. So no shot prompting is not giving any examples. Few shot prompting is giving a few examples. Again, super basic. One example is better than none. 3 to 5 examples is best. If you add 10 plus, this is where it starts to plateau and it doesn't really make a difference. One thing you want to note as you're prompting these AIs, especially once you get to the master level, is it starts to get really long. And when you're paying for AI, you're paying for all individual tokens. So there's certain words, certain letters that have different token amounts, which determines how much you pay. So if you're prompt is like super long, you're going to end up paying for that. And then its outputs might end up being super long. Again, you're going to be paying for that. So at the end of the day, less is more. This is why I'm talking about like one example is better than none and 3 to 5 is about the best range. Because if you just give it 10 plus, like it's just overkill at that point. You're just paying for very marginal increase. Whereas if you give it 3 to 5, that's exponential increase in the outputs you're going to get. Quick tip, this reduces the sort of fine tuning. And what fine tuning means is going back and forth with AI. This is exactly what I was doing as a copywriter, as a marketer, is giving an input, then going back and forth with it to try and refine it. This reduces the fine tuning that you have to use or the time that's spent on it, which is just going to save you so much time. It's better to just have one really good prompt rather than trying to figure out and refine 5 different prompts at once. So it just saves you a lot of time, a lot of hours, and frankly, it saves you probably money because you're not wasting it on tokens. The last element of this is notes. So this is where you're giving it important reminders to tweak the outputs. Again, the list format is here because it allows you to add and remove as needed. What you're doing here is you're reducing the lost in the middle effect. So if you go to a restaurant and you have an amazing dessert, but average mains or maybe just crappy appetizers, you're gonna leave thinking that the restaurant was better than it really was. And that's called the recency effect. Again, you're gonna notice a lot of human psychology sprinkled around here because training AI is no different than training a human brain. Recency effect is a legit thing where if you end off on a good note, the entire experience ends up being a positive experience. Whereas if you end off on a bad note, the entire experience ends up being a bad experience because it's one of the last things that your brain remembers about that experience. So you want to take this into account, recency effect. There's also something called the primacy effect, where if you're told to memorize a shopping list, you're probably most likely to remember just the first few items rather than the items in the middle or the end. Same thing. So there's recency effect where you remember most of the end, or primacy effect where you remember most of the beginning. Lost in the middle is everything in the middle that you just end up forgetting. AI is no different. It remembers what was given to it at the very start, and it'll remember some things that's given at the very end. But the primacy effect is much stronger. So this is why we start with things like role and task at the top, because those are the most important blocks of it being able to replicate and give you the outputs that you need. We're feeding into the primacy effect here. What we're doing with this note section is we're reducing the loss in the middle and feeding into the recency effect where, again, we're reminding it what we wanted to do so that nothing gets missed out in the middle. So quick example of this, there's role, task, everything stays the same. Now we're adding specifics. So the subject line should invoke curiosity through personalized approach or by asking a question. Use the first name tag as a placeholder for their name. The call to action should specifically ask them to, quote, reply to this email. So again, we're not talking about what to do, we're talking about how to do it. That's what specifics are for. Context stays the exact same. You can see emotion prompt right here. In terms of examples, you just give it 3 different examples or 5 different examples. This is cold email number 1 that worked really well. Cold email number 2, cold email number 3. In the notes section, where you remind it the importance of what you do. So emotion prompt is super important to repeat here so that it extra locks in on that. So this task is highly important to me as it determines the success of my business, so I greatly appreciate your input and support. With the notes section, you can literally just copy and paste this stuff. At the beginning, when you create the master level prompt, you don't necessarily need anything in the notes. You can just paste it and see what the output is like. If it's good, perfect. Again, because the key here is less is more. You don't want to overwhelm the AI with instructions. If you're following the less is more option and it gives you the correct output or a good output, then you don't need the notes section to just kind of jumble everything together. However, if it starts to miss certain things like it usually does, or if it starts to hallucinate, which basically just means it starts making things up, this is where you start adding in things into the notes so that it reminds the AI what to focus on. Start with nothing, add them one by one, see how it operates. And the reason, again, that we're using the list format is so that you can just add and remove really easily without messing with the entire prompt and just jumbling around with the sentences. Tips that I want to give you regardless of what level you're operating at, which is, again, just going to refine the outputs you're getting, is literally asking this question. Ask clarifying questions. I guess it's not really a question, but telling it what to do. This is game changer because this forces the AI to think rather than assume. So it's going to start asking leading questions to make sure that, again, the outputs are the correct outputs. So if you're to add this to the end of this prompt, it's probably going to start asking questions maybe on specifically on who are you targeting? What's the average business size? What is the average sale for them, like different things that are going to help it optimize the outputs that it's actually giving you. So this is a super game-changing question, or I guess prompt to give it, regardless of whether the length of the prompt is long, short, regardless of whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or master. It's just going to help you get better outputs across the board. Formatting is the next one. So for Markdown format, this is basically, not going to explain too much into it because it's not that relevant, but this allows the AI, first of all, to read what you're giving it more clearly and to focus on the actual important parts of it, but also it just allows you to understand and read it a little bit easier. So this is basically what Markdown format is. There's one hashtag, which is basically header 1, 2 hashtags, header 2, 3 hashtags, header 3. And then you can put things in between 2 asterisks, which is, we'll just bold it. These are really the only like useful things to use. Like the bolding isn't really that useful, but you know, if it helps, it helps. But I felt like I would just add it in here. The most useful part really is just the actual hashtag system, so the heading system. So for example, this is what it looks like. Header 1 would be role, and then it provides the role. And then header 1, again, is task, and it provides the task. So again, it focuses on, instead of like this being the actual prompt, now this is how the AI reads it, and basically how your brain would read it is this. Role, you are the world-class cold email marketer, blah, 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 blah. That's how it starts to read it, is it like bolds it in its mind, makes it big. It's like, okay, this is the header of my instruction, and then this is the instruction below. You got it for tasks, you got it for specifics here, context, and then when you start using like header 2 is, for example, in the example section. So you got header 1 is the example number 1 in header 2, then you provide the example. And if you really wanted to, you could just bold the example here to get it to focus on it. Again, the bolding doesn't actually make that big of a difference, but it could help with making the AI focus on something specific. So you could just add it in there. And then again, header 2, example, header 2, example, and then we got header 1 again, so notes. Maybe you want to bold the actual emotion prompt, so again, that it really soaks in how important this task is so that it can actually focus on doing the right things. And that's pretty much it. And then the last tip here is positive reinforcement beats negative reinforcement. So like I said, AI is just like training a human mind. If you give humans a bunch of negative reinforcement, you constantly tell things like, I hate when you do that, you're completely doing it wrong, etc., 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 they're not going to operate at the best level. Like their identity piece is going to be very low because there's nothing to shoot for. They're just landing on the ground floor of the absolute bare minimum expectations. If you're giving them an identity and expectation to shoot for, this is when people start to shoot for it. So I think I think it's called the Pygmalion effect, where basically teachers told certain students that they were like high achievers, but in reality, these students were just normal students, but those exact students were actually graded or end up getting way higher grades than anyone else in their school. This is exactly what you're doing, is you're giving them expectation, giving them identity to shoot for, and it'll achieve it. So focus more on the positive aspect of it. So this is what you would tell the AI is like, for example, let's say it had a really good output where, again, maybe the subject line was really good in the cold email. It's like, focus on making the subject lines really strong. I really like this subject line. Or I love it how you blank. I love it how you made it so curiosity driven. You're great at doing XYZ, do more of it. Things like this is just going to enrich the AI even more. It's going to, again, when we think about emotion prompt, we're injecting emotion into a machine where it starts to understand and starts to motivate itself to produce better work. It sounds kind of weird because it's just technology. It's just a bunch of zeros and ones, but it actually works. Another thing that actually works well, which I found hilarious, is if it starts spitting out a bunch of wrong stuff, tell it to slow down, take a breather. Just like, what questions do you have? What are you not clear on? Like, again, it's just like having a conversation with a human being. The biggest problem that people have is they know that AI has all the information in the world, so they just expect it to read your mind, but that's just not how it works. So these are the last few tips on how to basically get AI to give you the right outputs. So now that you know exactly how to basically get the right outputs from AI consistently, again, regardless of whether you just want to free up some of your time or actually build businesses and make more money around this, now you know how to get AI to work for you rather than it working, or I always mess this up. Now you know how to get AI to work for you rather than you working for it. So That being said, if you want to see how we're actually using AI in clients' businesses, if you want to see how we ended up pulling $67,500 from a bunch of dead leads in 5 days, then just click somewhere above and I'll direct you to the video. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one.